Welcome to the LongBox Paradox. I am Dan, your host, and with us today we have Jennifer at Gin and Comics. And finally, it took a quarantine. I had to use a summoning jutsu to summon her from Animal Crossing, the Queen of Hot Takes herself, Cidnya, aka at Cidnyareads from.
Hi.
But why though?
Yes.
And also away from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. That's your other obsession.
Yes. I was actually playing Animal Crossing before I came on.
I want to say specifically to you, Cidnya, happy Twin Peaks 30th birthday.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yes. I was watching Kyle MacLachlan's live thing a bit ago. It was so good. I was gonna go all out for it today, but I was like, you know what? I do it every single day. I'm just gonna watch an episode later on tonight and call it a day.
I wanted to start at the top of the show plugging my co-host and friend Gambit's website. He is on furlough from work and he's going nuts not having anything to do. So please visit his website, buy his comics that are available on there. Also, if you want a commission, you can order from there. If you would like to get a blank cover sketch by him, it's on there. Prices are reasonable, and that is not at Gambit, gambitsinc.com. Or just message him at Gambits Inc. on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. He's at Gambits Inc. everywhere. But please, God, keep him busy. Please. he is not used to not being busy. And also be safe out there. We just had someone test positive for COVID at my work.
Uh-oh, stay safe.
Yeah, well, they've been gone for 12 days already, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But they're not telling us who, so everybody's like, uh-oh. Have we interacted with this person? Do we know this person? So the paranoia is setting in. And pretty soon we're going to be doing blood tests like the movie The Thing, and, all strapped to tables.
Oh, geez.
I went to a bad area there. So since this is the random episode, we all bring books, movies, novels. I know Cidnya's got novels. I know because I've seen your Instagram of what you're reading. And there will be rabbit holes gone down. It will happen. It never fails to happen. And I regret nothing.
Yeah. To me, it's not necessarily as much as going down a rabbit hole as much as it is like a train just completely derailing. That's how I imagine it's just a derailed train.
Cidnya, you've missed a lot of episodes. We now have a drinking game during some of them now.
Oh, well, you should have let me know. I would have brought stuff.
Well, we'll do that for Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it's talking about X's in it that I will end up going down a train wreck of a disaster, and then I have to drink when I mention the Voldemort of X's. So
and certain
relatable.
And certain comic book creators get a drink.
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll organically come up at some point.
Amazing.
Probably. We just have to figure out a time for Sunday's stream for Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah. Yes.
We don't have to do it late since we won't have D Comic Queen joining us. So it could be 8 o'clock. It could be 7 o'clock. I don't care. I'm off that day. So Cidnya, since you are our long-awaited guest, why don't you start us off?
Okay. Well, I had a really hard time trying to pick out a graphic novel to, or a comic to plug. Cause I usually tend to read a lot of big doom and gloom or horror, X-Men stuff. And I was just what is something that I own that's just feel good? And I was trying to look at it and I was all of this is super heavy stuff. I don't read light books, it seems. The lightest I have is a Gem and the Holograms book, but I haven't read it in forever. So I was that's not what I'm feeling. But then I come across Hawkeye, my Life as a Weapon, which collects the first 5 Matt Fraction and David Aja things, plus an Avengers Presents by another team. And I was you know what? I love Clint Barton literally just because of this. And I've never been a Hawkeye person. I've never really cared about Marvel comics for a very long time. But this is just so good. I love the color schemes in it. How it's just chained. Oh, wait, this way.
The colors do make that book. It really does make it pop. Plus, I love Pizza Dog. Pizza Dog's the best.
And then I just realized that, like, even though it, like, has a lot of heavy burdens, because, like, Clint just carries a lot of weight, it's so fun, though. It's fun. It's silly, because Clint is kind of stupid. So it's good. That's what I came with today.
The foreign bro gangsters. Bro.
Yes.
Bro.
Yeah.
It was a fun book, and that was the start of the schlubby Clint Barton, where he's just kind of a schmuck, to put it lightly, like he's just a loser.
Yeah, he's got like nothing going on, and he doesn't care who knows that. My favorite issue in the volume is like when he finds that girl with like the red Corvette or something like that, and just like sleeps with her, but he finds out that like she like stole that car from like mobsters and like has to deal with that, and then she just goes away.
I also love Kate. Kate in that run was really good.
Kate is a badass.
She doesn't respect him at all.
Yeah, she's a badass, and she's just like, "You're so stupid, Clint. Why do you have to be so stupid all the time?"
I feel like he gets a lot of shit for being so stupid. Like, he just like is the butt of all the jokes.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's great. He can be stupid. I don't care.
Okay, Jennifer, you're on next.
Okay, so the one that I brought, and it's because you have recommended it to me so many times, and I feel like I've not necessarily failed as a comic book consumer reader, but because I haven't read it, and it's actually by an artist, a writer that I really respect, but Planetary by Warren Ellis. So I'm finally reading it after a very long time, after it being recommended to me by so many people. I'm finally going ahead and reading it, and I enjoy it so far. I've only got maybe about like the equivalent of one issue in, but because it was so highly recommended, I did go ahead and pick up both of the volumes that collect the entire thing. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. For anyone who hasn't read Planetary, so far from what I understand of it, from what it's been described, from what I've read, it's basically secret society type stuff, like global conspiracies, but with like kind of superheroes. It's been really good. The one thing that because I literally just picked this up, and this must have come out in the late 90s, early 2000s, and this was collected. But there's actually a foreword by Alan Moore, and I would love to get a chance to maybe read it. Maybe I'll go ahead and like tweet out what he says. But so far, that's been my favorite part, because he reflects on, at the turn of this last century, so 20 years ago, the state of the comic book industry, and how a lot of people are seeing the death of the comic book industry and the way that comics are changing. So to now, in this past month, seeing what's going on with the comic book industry specifically, and to hear Alan Moore's voice ring out from 2 decades ago about the state of the comic book industry then, is very relevant. And I think this once again proves Gambit's theory, and now my belief, that Alan Moore is in fact a time traveler. So maybe follow me on some other stuff, because I'm either going to go ahead and do some live streaming and maybe read this, or maybe I'll go ahead and just tweet it out, maybe a combination of both. But I do want to go ahead, and I think everyone should read what Alan Moore has to say about the state of the comic book industry. So
I love him. I'm actually reading V for Vendetta right now.
Ooh,
and like it's ideas of like criticizing like totalitarian governments and fascism, and, you know, like rising up, like, and, you know, creating anarchy, and like enjoying art as like, like the end all be all of mediums.
In the midst of the chaos.
And I'm like, oh my God, Alan Moore, you're a genius.
Thank Margaret Thatcher for that. She inspired that. Planetary, like if I were a Jehovah's Witness going door to door, that is my book. I'd be like holding, going, "Have you read the good book? Have you read this?" Like I would go door to door with just a satchel of them and hand them out to people. John Cassidy's art is fantastic in that.
Once again, it's one of the, I was thinking about that when reading it, thinking about the blend of art and writing. And I think that, to your point about this being a Bible for comic book consumers, it should maybe also be a Bible for people who maybe want to write comic books or draw comic books, because as someone who enjoys writing and would like to write more comic books, I think the blend of the pacing so far, the blend of this many panels per page, these many word bubbles per panel, I think this would be a good book to like get blueprints for what it looks like to write a comic book. So Warren Ellis is just, he's incredible. And I know we talked about it, but if someone is into comic books, into the comic book industry, and you're not subscribed to Warren Ellis's newsletter that comes out every Sunday, it's brilliant and deserves to be read.
Was issue 1 the one where they're on Monster Island, or was that issue 2?
I think that was
issue 1
2.
was issue 1 was finding him.
Yeah, issue 1 was just finding him.
And
so
you meet
they
my
haven't
favorite
done-
character, Chiquita Wagner.
100%, like immediately. And I really, really hope that Chiquita stays in this, because I feel like she's definitely Chiquita is definitely a character that I really like. And Alan Moore is the biggest madman in the best way. 100%.
Yeah, an actual wizard.
I don't know if I'd call him a madman.
He's a sane man. He is 100%. He knows the truth.
I would say probably Grant Morrison
Ooh.
is
more or less like a madman, especially after watching that documentary about him.
Grant Morrison's like crazy.
I think that if we had that like chaotic neutral, chaotic like good, chaotic evil, I feel like the two ends of the spectrum would be like Alan Moore and Frank Miller. Like madman in a good way and a bad way. So it's Alan Moore is crazy in a good way, and Frank Miller is crazy in a bad way.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I mean, have you guys like not read up about like Grant Morrison and like Alan Moore's like wizard dueling stuff?
Yeah.
I just recently read up about like the history of it, and I was like, wait, because like I knew Alan Moore was like a mad magician or whatever, or wizard, and I was like, what? But then someone was like, yeah, so is Grant Morrison, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So Grant Morrison, someone uploaded the whole documentary on YouTube. It's called Talking with Gods. And he talks about how he came up with his Doom Patrol story and how he was doing shrooms. And then he got this flesh-eating disease that was like eating his face at one point. I forget who it was. It was an artist saying like he went to his room at a con and the door opened by itself, and Grant walks up naked wearing nothing but a robe and saying, "Oh no, I'm writing." And then walked away, and they swear the door closed by itself as he walked away.
Oh my god.
Like just
yeah, insane.
A madman like Kurt Vonnegut. Ooh. Just so out. I don't know if Vonnegut is someone I'd say is out there though.
Yeah, I've read a few Vonnegut things, but I feel like since a lot of his work is satire and black comedy, like I guess it's like absurdity rooted in like political commentary. So I don't really feel like his ideas are like insane.
Like he knows the truth. Yeah.
It is more like poking fun at stuff, but like a much wordier way of it. I could go on about Alan Moore. That could be a whole episode by itself, doing the works of Alan Moore.
It should be. Right now, like during this quarantine, I was like, should I be reading Jerusalem? Like, is that how much time I have on my hands to go ahead and start reading Jerusalem? So I feel like that's the comic book literary equivalent of don't cut your bangs in quarantine. Like, don't start reading like an epic novel by Alan Moore during quarantine. But
my roommate was trying to read that, and he was like reading the physical book, and he was like, I don't know what Alan Moore is trying to tell me. And I was like, okay. And so he was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to the audiobook and see if that's better. And he was like listening to the audiobook, and he was like, nope, not better. I don't understand what's going on at all.
Who narrates the book? Is it Alan Moore doing it, or?
I have no idea. I probably wouldn't think so. Most of the time, authors don't usually narrate their own book, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was funny. And then I looked at it, and it was big, and I was like,
it's
maybe
a thick
not.
boy. Thick with 2 C's.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to self-punish during quarantine, read Thomas Pynchon. Like Mason Dixon and Gravity's Rainbow are like the most truculent books of like, you start reading, you're like, oh, why did I do this to myself? Why did I start this? Because it's just so wordy. It's like reading Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, where you're like, this could have been like 1,000 pages less.
I have all of those. My partner is a really big fan of the Wheel of Time series, and I've started the first book probably 5 times and haven't gotten into it. And I'm a firm believer if you read something and you don't like it, you are not obligated to finish it, even though I will read finished books. But I'm a big believer in, if you don't enjoy it, just put it down, and you are not obligated to finish it.
Oh, that's Tolstoy for me. I have tried to read War and Peace and Anna. I can't do it. I just cannot do it.
I can understand War and Peace, but I love Anna Karenina. But also, I just tend to like historical fiction. So, like, that's that.
I like to think of myself as well-read, and I'm sitting there going, I can't do it. I can't do it to myself. Like, it's too long, and it's just not interesting me. Okay, so
what's your pick of the week?
This is actually revisiting our former guest, the Comic Queen. When she came on, she recommended highly The Kill Lock. I read all 4 issues that are currently out. I like it. I don't love it. She went the Saga comparison. And that, I was like, all right. So I started reading it, and the writer, in my opinion, likes writing one character, the artisan, way more than any other character. And I don't think they get fleshed out as much. And the artisan is kind of the smartass of the group, and he's kind of evil.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the most enjoyable to read, and I imagine writing as well. But at the same time, like, they kind of ignore the other characters. They don't get their fair share. And it hurts the book a bit. I mean, it's a good book. It's just not great.
See, I only read issue 1, and I think that I liked where I thought that it was headed. I haven't read the other issues, but because I did go ahead and I bought it digitally, I was like, I'll probably go ahead and spend the $3 on buying issue 1. And then I'll probably buy the trade when it's done, just to read the whole thing. But I think that she really, really, really enjoyed it. And her description, it was spot on, but it was for sure overhyped. And for me, like, if you compare anything to Saga, it better be damn well perfect. It better be it. Because to me, like, Saga is like, it's perfect to me. So if you're going to put in a box of Saga, it better be just as perfect. It wasn't quite, but it was still, I liked it, and I'm probably going to buy the trade.
Yeah, and it's story and art by Livio Ramondelli, and the art is nice. It looks very digital. I could be wrong, but it's not bad. But again, I had the same thing where I sat down, I finished issue 1. I'm like, all right, like, it's good. It's just not, I'm not blown away. Like, I have to immediately reread this.
Mm-hmm.
But as a trade, I think it'll be worth picking up.
The Kill Lock was, I still think that it's a good book. I'm for sure 100% going to pick it up, but maybe I just need to read past the first issue to fall in love with it the way that she did, and she recommended it. So we'll see. When it comes out in October, I think, pending hopefully everything that's going on. We'll see if it ends up coming in October.
Well, I saw Diamond say, hey, we'll ship to your houses to the retailers, but we can't ship to your stores. Fascinating. see how that all ends up. I have a feeling we'll see digital releases before we see print soon, because there's too much money on the table at this point that they're leaving. Anyway, Cidnya, your next pick.
Oh, well, I wanted to talk about. Wait, are we going into books now, or? Because the only other comic I wanted to talk about was actually a manga, and it was it was Junji Ito's Uzumaki, because I've been thinking about it a lot, because I keep thinking about like the Toonami trailer that dropped of like the very static black and white with like the eerie music, really good sound design. And I've been thinking about Uzumaki a lot, just because a lot of people in quarantine are like, oh, I want to try and read manga now. Like, what should I read? And I'm like, Junji Ito. Because I don't own it unfortunately, but he's just a really, really good artist. He's a good mangaka, and he writes very well when he's on top of his game. Uzumaki is essentially a horror story that is comprised of like vignettes of the town experiencing the horrors of a spiral. So like some people are like just terrified of the way it looks and go crazy, and there's like other ones where it's just like they feel so compelled to like be a spiral that they like need to do something to like contort their body to do that. It's just wacky, it's fun, but like kind of depressing, but it's good.
I feel like Junji Ito is one of those writers that does horror really well in the like comic book manga form, because a lot of times when reading a horror book, I don't feel the horror. I think that it's really, really hard to feel it when I'm reading a comic or a manga, and I think that he does it really, really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some images from that book are like ingrained in my brain, and I'll never not be like, oh, when I think about it. Like he does like that type of like shock, and that type of like, he's able to draw and shade in a way that it just looks grotesque. It looks disgusting, and it gets under your skin when you think about like just how gross it looks sometimes. He's really good at just capturing like what gets under people's skin.
He's the Takashi Miike of manga.
Yes.
Oh God. There's a fountain in my apartment complex, and I'm sitting outside, and the wind just blew like into me.
It like sneezed on you.
Yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, that was the only other book I was thinking about talking about, just because I've been thinking about it a lot because I want to reread it.
Someone's got a good eye.
King City on the shelf back there.
I'll go ahead and I will talk about it. It wasn't going to be one of my picks of the week, but hey, since you saw it, it's been a minute since I've watched or read this one, but it's a single. It's Brandon Graham. So I don't know if you can see it. I really like this like European style. I would call it European style, maybe more like underground comic book style of artwork. But yeah, it's another.
He was the artist on Prophet, right?
I don't see Prophet right here.
I mean, you don't keep those Rob Liefeld properties just hanging on your shelf.
Yeah, no. Oh, gotta take a drink. Rob Liefeld.
Oh, is that a rule? Dang.
I feel like
usually when Gambit's here.
Gotcha.
Because like every single episode, or when we talk, I feel like there's certain creators that come up every time. Alan Moore, Rob Liefeld. I'm not going to say the other one's name who did Batman, who did wrong on Batman.
I was going to say the artist on Gabriel Rodriguez was another one.
I don't want to shit on that art, but yeah. So if anyone hasn't read King City, it's pretty good.
It's an oldie. Monster. I haven't heard of that one, so I'll definitely.
Naoki Urasawa.
Yeah, I haven't heard of them either. I'll check it out though. Thanks for the recommendation.
One other book that I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to go ahead and do a reread of it soon. But I wanted to talk about The Beauty. Especially thinking about like getting like sick. And so anyways, it's Jeremy Hahn. I really enjoy his writing. Basically, like an STD gets you, it's weird. Yeah.
I love that. That's my favorite thing.
It
Is like when
had
someone says
Stephanie
it's
Hahn's
weird.
covers too for a while, I think.
If anyone one of the comic books that like I got into comic books was Black Hole by oh my god, is it Charles Burns? Is that his name?
I think so, yeah.
So whenever I read the premise for this, it really brought me back to Black Hole, which you haven't read it. It's like teenagers are getting this like STD and it makes them really grotesque. And so anyways, I wanted to go ahead and reread. This is volume 1 of The Beauty. I know no new comic books are coming out now, but this one is on like its 4th or 5th issue or volume maybe. So
yeah, or the 4th, I think.
4th, yeah. So if anyone is out there looking for new stuff to read, I think this one would be a really good one to read. And if you haven't read Black Hole, then you should read Black Hole. It's a classic. So I think that people should read that too.
So for me, I'm on an epic reread.
Mm-hmm.
The Marvel Knights Daredevil.
Oh,
I've been meaning to get to Daredevil reads.
So the first volume was Kevin Smith, Joe Quesada, and it kicked off the Marvel Knights, Kevin Smith's real first comic book writing. Joe Quesada does these epic splash pages in it. I honestly would say this is the weakest of them, the first volume. Not that it's bad, but right afterward, Bendis and Alex Maleev come on. And Bendis does one of the greatest street level runs on Daredevil that I have encountered. And I like the team of Bendis and Maleev. And honestly, I thought after Smith and Quesada left, the book was going to die, and it ended up having one of the most epic runs that then led into Ed Brubaker taking over and further going into it. And it's one of the most solid runs on a book that I've read in a long time, and it made me give a shit about Daredevil, which I hadn't since Frank Miller. The madman on the opposite side of the chaotic scale.
The chaotic evil.
Bendis, I think this is when Bendis hit his peak, where he was at his strongest, and they weren't putting him on like a million books and stretching him out so thin that I thought his writing started to suffer. But it's definitely worth, if you could pick up the trades cheap, giving it a read. Especially the Bendis run was just incredible. I could go on for a while about it, but it was the perfect marriage of like Alex Maleev's kind of dirty street art with Bendis doing this. He really goes into what a shitbag kind of Matt Murdock is a little bit. Like, someone finds out his identity of Daredevil being Matt Murdock and reveals it. And basically the city, and then it becomes Matt Murdock trying to prove that he's not Daredevil for quite a while. I think that starts in the third of the hardcovers, but I forget what might have been the 4th trade.
Bendis Maleev is definitely that writer-artist duo that there's so many books that I can think of that I just love. Yeah. When I think of Scarlet is one of like my favorite stories. And what was the one that I just read? Is it Pearl?
So that was David Mack.
Oh yeah.
That was yeah. That
Yeah, Pearl was very good. I like that.
Yeah. But Bendis is just a phenomenal writer and does a lot of my favorite stuff.
When he's not stretched out, like I said, as soon as all of a sudden he went to DC and he's doing 4 titles, it's like no. Just do it. I can't even get one title written. I can't even imagine writing 4. It's like right up there with, the Jack Kirby legend that he was drawing 8 books at the same time and was doing 8 pages a day.
I've only read Bendis on Guardians, and his run on Guardians is very like up, down, up, down, up, down. So I don't know if like he was on Guardians after he did Daredevil or whatever.
Very much, because he was doing Avengers, he was doing Guardians, and a bunch of other books. His probably strongest work after that, though, would be Alias Jessica Jones, especially going into the
I heard his stuff for Jessica is amazing.
Yes.
That's actually one of the things that I've been rereading recently. And I read it before the show came out. And I think that this was one of my favorite shows of the Marvel ones. It definitely was one of my favorite.
Oh, I've had a crush on Kristen Ritter since
Breaking Bad.
No, actually, Veronica Mars.
Oh,
fun.
Mars.
Yeah, and then she was the bee in Apartment 23.
Yeah, 3.
And I've always had a crush on her, and I almost died one day when she retweeted one of my tweets about her. I was like, oh, no.
Aw, so
notice
cute.
Notice me, senpai. Notice me.
I literally turned my phone off and restarted to see if it was like I was hallucinating. It was that freaked out. I was like, uh-oh, panic attack. Like always. Someone noticed me, I have to panic attack and like be like, why? What's going on? Help me. Cinia, you're next.
Okay, I'm going to talk about books now.
Okay.
I have finished 2 books within the span of like 4 days. I finished Daisy Jones and the Six by like Taylor Reed Jenkins. One of the 2, don't remember. But it was basically like about a like 1970s rock band, and it was like cataloging like the rise and fall of them. I was really excited about it because a bunch of people like online in the book community and like, you know, the press really loved it when it came out. And they're like, oh, if you love rock and roll and sex and drugs, this is like the book for you. And I read it and I had fun, but I shit you not, it was straight up like fan fiction published of like Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. Like, I swear to God, I read it and I was like, oh, Daisy Jones is just Stevie Nicks. And it was like, oh, her affair? That's just her affair with like Mick Fleetwood. And it was like talking about like how like they had a lot of trouble like recording their album because like everyone was sleeping with each other and like secret, and like everyone was doing cocaine, and like they were fighting over like lyrics. And I was like, oh, it's the production of Rumors. And I don't know why, but it's really bothered me. Like, I had fun. I read it all in a day. And then I was just like, I just keep thinking about it. It's just published like Fleetwood Mac fan fiction. I'm so confused. What?
I would never pick that stuff out because I don't like Fleetwood Mac, so I would never get any of those references. They just never interested me. I don't know why. Like,
I love them.
I was that like introvert kid who's like, I'm gonna listen to the Smiths. I'm gonna listen to Rush. I can't listen to further opposites.
Smiths,
but I
like both.
Yeah.
And then Rush led into Coheed and Cambria, where I was like, this dude's doing a Geddy Lee impersonation.
Yeah, well, I picked it up just because I love that era of like the 1970s, and I love, you know, like those like sleazy band stories. Like I'm a sucker for that. But then I was just like, why is this Fleetwood Mac fan fiction? Like, why am I reading this?
Well, what was that one teen book that was like One Direction fanfic?
I don't know, probably a lot.
It got published under a different name, but it was like One Direction fanfic that like got a big label, like got picked up, and they were like, let's just change the names. This won't be One Direction fanfic anymore. It was like once.
Is that? Oh, I was gonna say, is that what's like Me Before You?
Yes.
Like the Harry Styles fanfiction?
Yes.
Okay.
It was that series. There was a series of. I just remember like. Someone going, hey, this is One Direction fanfic. I was like, what the fuck is it doing in my Barnes & Noble? Like, get it the fuck out. And, of course, what was it? What was that stupid fucking book that everybody was buying with the domination? It was supposed to be...
Oh, 50 Shades of Grey was Twilight fanfiction. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, what a bad time.
Yeah.
It was the only thing keeping Barnes & Noble alive, that and Harry Potter.
Just like Cassandra Clare, she wrote like the Mortal Instruments series. And like all of that is like, it's technically like published like Harry Potter fan fiction. I've just been noticing a trend of just like everything just seems like fan fiction, but it's published. Like Bonds of Brass was just published, and I heard people describe it as like Finn and Poe, like Star Wars fan fiction. And the
I'm
book,
here. What is that called?
it's Bonds of Brass. It's a really good book, apparently. Like it's from Del Rey. I've heard nothing but like positive, great things about it. But like people describe it as like.
So is there a couple named Foe? Finn and Poe?
I thought it's Finn Poe.
Oh.
Finn Poe.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm here for it.
I really want to read it. I downloaded an excerpt for it, and I'm probably gonna buy it. But can I just do my 2 picks right now and get it over with?
Sure. What the hell? We have no rules here.
Yeah. It's like, whose line is it anyways? The points don't matter.
Yeah. Well, like this morning, I finished reading A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Because every like YA person like loves Sarah J. Maas, and apparently it was supposed to be like fairy smut or whatever. And I was like, that'll distract me from like impending doom. I read it, and it was just like Beauty and the Beast fan fiction, but like with fairies instead. And didn't like it so much that I bought like 3 other books because I was like not having a fun or sexy time. So
you need to get the taste out of your mouth sometimes. Like when you read a book like that, you're like, I need something to like wash my literary palette.
Yeah. It was bad. It was not good. Did not have a fun time. It was very sad. I manage your friends with the story.
Oh wow.
So the moral of the story is, if you are running out of toilet paper, if you can go to your friends in the library bookstore and then pick up your copy of 50 Shades, and you've got toilet paper.
I don't so much have a problem with fan fiction. It's weird when it gets big time publication.
Yeah, I get very irritated when the conversation around like the Mortal Instruments series or like Daisy Jones and the Six is like innovative. It's great. It's new. It's never been done before. And then you read it and you can very clearly see like, oh, if you strip away like the names of these different characters, like at its basis, it is fan fiction for like these things. Or like a retelling of, like a story with different names. And I guess it's like whatever, because like that's just tropes. But it's always like irritating because like the conversation around Daisy Jones and the Six was like never been done before. Amazing female protagonist. Like she's so strong. She's so cool. Like rock and roll has never seen her. And then I read it and I was like, oh, it's just Stevie Nicks. But her name is Daisy.
Speaking of series that borrow a lot, Vampire Diaries might be the most successful ripoff of any other book series because that show took on a life of its own.
I have never gotten like too much into fan fiction, with the exception of Harry Potter, because that was something that was very near and dear to me as a kid growing up, and I think it shaped who I am. And I read fan fiction way back then about Harry Potter, but then recently, and I say recently as in a couple years ago, I went and read some fan fiction, some Harry Potter fan fiction, and there was one particular story, and it was. So here's my opinion first. I don't like fan fiction when it is fan fiction about those characters specifically and it throws them out of character. And this particular fan fiction that I read was Harry Potter fan fiction, except it put Hermione and Neville into a relationship. And sorry for saying this, but Neville was her dom. So it was sexy. Fiction. It was what? Yeah. And so it was like sexy time, but then Neville was dominating Hermione. And I'm like, no.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So to me, I think that if you're going to do fan fiction, like it should be done very well. Hermione, if anyone, is the dominatrix. So like, there's that for you. But like, I don't know, to me, I like fan fiction and I'm okay with it, but I don't like fan fiction where it does just random shit for the sake of doing random shit. Like, that is not the characters whatsoever. Just write some other smut and leave Hermione away from Neville.
There is a dark corner of the web that is Jason Todd, Dick Grayson slash fiction. There was also the Naruto slash fiction that is a dark, dark, dark corner of the world.
I think just anime fan fiction is usually just like a
like
yeah.
Oof.
The Naruto Sasuke one, just like oof.
And a lot of anime is really just fan service anyways. So whenever it goes off into the like, I don't know. I don't like it.
I don't mind fan fiction at all. I just get so frustrated when I read something expecting something, and then I like can clearly like piece together like, oh, I know what you did there. Like all of a sudden I like care a little less, and it like kind of derails the whatever this artist is trying to do sometimes, where it's like I couldn't enjoy Daisy Jones and the Six to its fullest because I just at the back of my head I'm just like, oh, it's just a retelling and like like wanting to ship like real people with fictional characters. I don't know, weird stuff. I still gave it a 4 though. It was fun to read. I read it in a day, but
in all fan fiction, no matter what it's about, Hermione is the dominatrix, like 100,000%. I feel like Hermione as a dominatrix is like, I don't want to say my spirit animal, but like I feel like that is like who I grew up to be. Hermione is a dominatrix.
I love that.
I mean, we're the ones with like them all showing up to magical key parties, and Ron accidentally getting his sister's key. Be like, oh no,
no, that's another thing where I don't like. I'm not gonna ship anyone who I don't think should be shipped, and of course, everyone should be a consenting adult when this happens. So any of the other fan fiction that doesn't abide by those rules, where there's not consent and they're not adults, then
it's just it's a no from me, dog.
Yeah.
What's your next book?
Oh, me, actually, the one I was actually going to talk about was Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. It is so good. So it's adult. It's cataloged as like adult fantasy, but I think that it should not be, because this has really intense and gruesome like body horror. And there are the main character, Alex Stern, is a super cool protagonist, and she can basically see ghosts. And so the way that Lee kind of grounds this story with all of its magic is that there are secret societies at very powerful universities, and this one is in particular Yale University, where like the powerful and the rich have like these magical societies where they like, for instance, the first one you learn about, I forget what their name is, but they're basically like business people, like the business major school. They have a society where they basically entrance like random people off of the streets, and they do like shaman-esque magic where like they're digging into their intestines, and they're like they're like looking into people's intestines to see the sway of like the stock market, so that they can like take that information and do like either insider trading to get like their people to become richer and stuff like that, or like when to
like
not
Black Monday
invest.
Murders.
Oh, is that what that is? The
Hickman.
Jonathan Hickman, yeah. And it's just really grounded. It's very gruesome, and it explores a lot of trauma and stuff like that. And it's just really good if you like want an escape and you want to get into like a magical world filled with like mysteries, but it's like adult and it's bloody, it's intense. Like there's like action sequences that just kind of like punch you in the gut, and there's like intense substance abuse. The Ninth House, it's just good. It's just so goth. Like I don't know. It's just so good. That was my pick. Ninth House is on my TBR shortlist. Can't wait to get to this one. Yes, it is so good. I should say like trigger warnings, because there's one instance of like sexual abuse for a like child, or like the protagonist at the age of a child. But other than that, it's pretty good.
Jennifer?
So one of the other books that I've been wanting to read as a graphic novel, which has been on my shelf for a minute. However, okay, let me go ahead and say this. So I went and I watched The Lighthouse. And
Yay!
this is a story in 2 parts. So it was available to rent for 99 cents on iTunes or whatever. So I went ahead and I rented it for 99 cents. I'm really sorry, but I got really high and watched it.
Fair enough.
And I watched maybe the first 40 minutes and I couldn't do it and I fell asleep. Waited 2 days and it was past the 48 hours that you have to watch it. And I had to fucking rent it again. Went into it completely sober and started at the point where I started or had finished watching it, or I remember falling asleep. I'm like, okay, I remember this happening. And I really wish that I had just, because my immediate thought after picking it up from there was, I should be high and watch this, because it was funny and it was weird and it had some like moments. And I don't know if this is too big of a spoiler or not for anyone who hasn't watched it, but whether you enjoy it or not, whether you like the weird Lovecraftian themes or you just enjoy Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe just doing like really like high Shakespearean acting, in my opinion.
They're just two dudes being dudes.
Beating the shit out of each other.
Beating the shit out of each other. So whether you can, because there are some slow moments and there is some pacing that I get where the film was going with it, but I wish that it would have been like moved on a little bit faster. But watching Robert Pattinson like just jerk off was totally worth the $1.98 that I spent to watch it kind of twice. So
angrily,
like, and then
my brand,
100%. And so there is, spoiler alert. The film is really about these two dudes, just two dudes hanging out, nothing gay. Like, I mean, whatever. But it's about them in this lighthouse, and Robert Pattinson's character is working for Willem Dafoe's character, and it's basically just like this high-low roller coaster of them working, them getting drunk and fighting, them working, getting drunk and fighting. But then at one point, Ephraim Winslow's character like sees a mermaid, and he sees her like cloaca vag type thing, and then he wants to fuck her.
Gross.
That was nuts to me. So whether someone goes in and like reads it 100% as horror, to me it was not horror. It was a comedy, in my opinion. So I watched it like halfway through, completely
It
high.
was really funny.
It was like, there were moments where I'm like, was this purposely funny? It was enjoyable the second time around, and you know what? Fuck it. I may just go ahead and rent it a third time, and it is what it is. That cloaca.
I watched it 3 times just to kind of get a feel of the ending, because I remember like the first time I saw it, I was like, wait, what the fuck was that ending? And then I watched, and then I went on a wiki and they started explaining. It's like, all right, I didn't get that, but okay, sure.
So I think that, I don't know why we just went off the rail. Once again, we didn't just go into a rabbit hole. We just completely fucking derailed. Cloaca. So anyways, mermaid cloaca. And so I really wanted to read some horror. And I know this is like completely, I don't know, but I went ahead and I've had
that Frankenstein?
Yeah. And it's a graphic novel version of it. And I really just wanted to go back and read some like horror because of it. So this is going to be one of my 2 reads this upcoming week, inspired because maybe I needed something a little bit lighter than Robert Pattinson masturbating to a mermaid.
Valid. Is it the Junji Ito adaptation? It's not, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
The Bernie Wrightson one's the one I thought was like the best back in the day. But I like Bernie Wrightson's old art.
So just while I have it here, another book that I have that is a comic book adaptation of a graphic novel adaptation of a book is Kindred by Octavia Butler. for anyone who hasn't read the original science fiction, it's about this woman who lives in, I think, like 1970s Chicago, I believe. And she gets sent back into the body of one of her ancestors who was a slave. And it really talks about the dynamic that families back then had. And I think that to me, like, slavery is horror. So I think that you can read this book because there's time travel. You can read it as science fiction. But I think when we also talk about our nation's very, very gruesome past, we can talk about slavery as horror. So this was another book that I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and read a couple of book adaptations. So those are my two like graphic novel book picks.
Okay. So since Tired and Broken is in the chat, she used to work with me at Barnes & Noble, and she was a huge champion of this book, and I actually picked it out because, Cidnya, you love family horror, knowing how you like Hereditary and all that.
I actually just rewatched it like 3 days ago, like just for fun. I was like, I want to watch Hereditary, and I was like, I'm sad now.
So this book is called Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. And it is a book about two sisters, Mary and Marjorie. Marjorie is the older one. And as they get older, Marjorie starts kind of acting out. She used to be kind of cheery. And the family starts, questioning her behavior. The father loses his job and turns to religion and thinks that the daughter might be possessed. Marjorie. And a lot of it is from the perspective of the youngest daughter, Mary. And she's an unreliable narrator at points. And I always love books where the narrator of it, you don't know if they're right or wrong. So during it, the sisters have a discussion, and the older sister, Marjorie, is like, oh no, I'm just acting out trying to get us on TV to help our family out. And I'm not really possessed. But as the story goes on, the younger sister's going, I think she's really possessed. But you never get a clear answer of it, where I say the unreliable narrator. But a lot of it is the family dynamics and questioning the whole time of if Marjorie is, if she isn't, if she's making it up. Very good book by Paul Tremblay. Tired and Broken could probably explain it way better than I'm doing right now because it's been a while since I read it. But I thought it was worth bringing in, especially knowing that you were going to be on because I know how much you like Hereditary.
Yes.
And
Yay.
the author, Paul Tremblay, is very good, in my opinion. Yeah, there she is. Unreliable narrators.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love unreliable narrators too. Let's do.
So
we talked about that a little bit last week when we talked about Die, and
Yes.
that like how it's narrated, and they even say like can you really agree with what I'm saying?
Yeah, I almost wish you were there for the Die stream because we started talking about the Brontes, and we have not read the Brontes.
I don't know what that is. So.
Oh, okay, never mind. The Bronte sisters, they're literary, and Die, they became parts of the world of Die. The Bronte sisters and the family.
Wait, like
Jane Eyre.
Yeah, like Wuthering Heights?
Yes.
Okay, just kidding. I know about them, and I've read their books. I was just like, what? Flew over my head.
In issue 9, we find out that they accidentally created a couple of the
Spoiler
worlds.
alert.
Yeah, I haven't read. I don't care. No.
Okay. So not really a novel for my next one.
Ooh.
But since it's all on Disney Plus every episode, this does the first 12 seasons, so you can almost play along as you watch. And inside every episode, they do an episode by episode breakdown. It does all the couch gags and the hidden Easter eggs in each episode.
Oh, that's so cool.
With commentary. I'm a huge early Simpsons fan.
Me too. I love.
They were brilliant, especially when Conan O'Brien was writing on it still. These books are full of so much information and so much hidden stuff in each episode that it's fascinating. They even will say like, hey, this spoof they did in it is actually referring to this. It also breaks down the Treehouse of Horrors, which are my favorite episodes every year.
Yes, I have all of the Treehouse of Horror Funko Pops.
I used to have the talking evil crusty doll where it could turn from
fun
good to evil. And another book that I am reading, I haven't finished it. I am a sucker for behind the scenes stuff and like making ofs, and I am reading the making of Return of the Jedi.
Ooh, that sounds very fun.
And I'm doing it on digital. Let me get back to the one thing I hate about ebooks. Can't just go back to the first page.
Oh yeah, you have to like scroll.
Or the cover apparently, but it's by J.W. Rinsler.
Ooh.
It has interactive parts, and I'm up to the part now where George Lucas just randomly goes, you know what? We're changing the name of Revenge of the Jedi to Return of the Jedi because Jedis don't seek revenge. They've already made the posters and everything.
Oh my god.
Everybody's very irritated with it. I just love making of stuff. It interests me to no end, especially for like big productions like that. And this is one of the ones where George Lucas was like, I'm hands off. I'm just someone else can direct. I'm just gonna be in the background and, you know, just not mess with anything. And then he just keeps sticking his finger in everything.
Speaking of making ofs, I went and watched Cursed Movies, and I think there was only one episode. I don't know if a second episode has come on, but the first
tonight or Thursday we get the new episode.
So the first episode was kind of the cursed background of The Exorcist, and man, that was it was a good episode. My only it was too short. I feel like I wanted a little bit more background. I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more history into either one, the making of, or two, how it was cursed, because there was a serial killer or there was a murderer on set, and I thought that was very interesting.
Ooh, well, I was talking about this before. Tired and Broken has a book blog, tiredandbroken.com. So go visit that if you want. She specializes in horror books. That's her jam, and other literary stuff, but mostly horror books. Since she is on furlough now, she's really doubling down on putting out new content on there.
Mm-hmm. And, does she have affiliate links?
She just added them.
Okay,
and she's on Instagram at Tattered and Broken, I think.
Yeah, I follow her, I think.
Yeah, so she just started doubling down. She's one of my best friends and worked together at Barnes & Noble for a while, and great person. And that's it for my books. What you got, Cidnya?
Okay, I'm going to talk about movies now.
Oh.
And okay, this is the thing that I was like, I think everyone's going to be a little, like, maybe not surprised, but being like, what? So I watched one of my favorite movies 2 days ago. It's like one of my favorite movies. It's so good and it's so great. And it came out in 2011. And it is the 2011 Muppets, like, musical.
I've never watched it. I have never watched it.
Are you not a musical person?
I would say I'm not a musical person, but I mean, I will watch the Cat's Butthole edition 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Last episode, I think that I went on a rant about how I hate musicals.
Oh no. Okay, well, to no one's surprise, I love musicals, and I was like a theater kid.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, no, of course it doesn't. But The Muppets 2011 is one of those musicals that's like, okay, so I feel like a lot of people are always like, how can you watch musicals? Everyone's singing. Like, it's like that's just normal. But like, the 2011 Muppets movie, like, is very keenly aware that it's a musical. So like, sometimes like characters it has Jason Segel and Amy Adams in it. Like preface, they're like the main couple, and then like, you know, the crew of Muppets.
Does she have lines on like Batman, Superman?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't watched that.
Good for you.
Yeah. I haven't watched most DC movies. I just kind of like,
Look at what.
I'm just like, nope, doesn't exist. Not canon if I don't watch it. Where they'll like go into a scene after they've done a number, and I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, I was just like finishing my song. What's going on now? And it's very meta, and it like makes fun of like musicals. So it's very campy and it's very fun on top of like all of the Muppet shticks, like Herman and Animal Man and stuff like that. And it has like a stellar cast, like John Krasinski's in it, like Neil Patrick Harris shows up,
Of course.
Rashida Jones. Yeah, Rashida Jones is in it. Jack Black is an integral, like the Muppets kidnap Jack Black to be the host of like their telethon. And like the dude who played Colonel Fitz in American Beauty is in it. And he like does a rap number, and it's like the most bizarre and jarring thing because I only know him as like Ricky Fitz's dad. So it's like, what? It's ridiculous. I love it. And it's just a very fun, feel-good movie. And it's just weird. It's just weird. It's fun. It's just chaotic, and I live for stuff like that.
Do you happen to have Amazon Prime Instant?
I have Amazon Prime.
Okay, so you have the video service then, because it's free with Amazon. There is a movie called Anna and the Apocalypse. It is a musical zombie movie that takes place on Christmas. It's a British movie. If you like Buffy's Once More with Feeling episode, you will dig this movie.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to have to watch. Yeah, because after I watched The Muppets, I watched Hairspray.
Which
like
version? The Travolta or the old one?
The new one, not the John Waters version. The newer one with like Zac Efron, because that's what was available to me.
I know this.
From Where the Concords is the musical director on Muppets. I feel like I think that I started watching the Muppets movie because I vaguely remember Jason Segel doing it, and I
love him.
What was the movie that he did where the girl breaks up with him?
Oh, Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Like, I really like him as an actor, and I loved that character. And I feel like, to me, because he does like a production with Muppets or puppets in that movie, I feel like, I don't know if I'm blending the two, but I feel like I've watched the Muppets movie, but I don't remember it. Maybe it's because it was so long ago, but.
Oh yeah, it was 2011. It's crazy. Actually, speaking of Jason Segel, I am wearing my How I Met Your Mother. Like, it's really faded because I've had it for like 5 years, but.
I've only watched one season of that show.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like junk food TV. Like, you watch it, like, just to turn your brain off, you know? You just don't think about it. You just consume.
What else who next for?
I think this if it's my turn, I don't know.
Yes,
This is probably going to be like, I've got a couple other, but this is probably going to be my last, just like, this is what I'm reading. And I've been reading this for a couple weeks now, just slowly at a time. Whenever I read non-comic books, I really like to read nonfiction. And this one is The Lady from the Black Lagoon.
Yes.
I want to read that so badly.
It's so good so far. I'm barely about halfway through, and it's really good. And it talks about Millicent Patrick, who you can't really like credit her as the first female animator because she was doing it at a time when specific type of animation didn't necessarily get credited, but she can get credited in things like Fantasia from Disney, and she did some work, and she also created The Creature from the Black Lagoon, and it goes into her story and like living in like Hearst Castle and like this fantastic history. So I highly, highly recommend this if you like nonfiction, if you like biographies. This one has been a really good one. It's written by Mallory O'Meara, and I'm just going to show a picture of her because I have a crush on her, I think. I don't think. I totally do. But she's totally crushworthy.
She's cute.
She's like who I aspire to be when I grow up, because she's adorable, and just this book is so smart. So if anyone wants a recommendation on like a nonfiction book. Highly recommend it. The Lady from the Black Lagoon.
What's up, Rod the Rican?
Hi.
Yes.
I am getting ready to start reading Imaginary Friend. It's the follow-up book from the author of Perks of Being a Wallflower. Getting ready to read that. So I'm going to start in my movie pile now. I just got this from the Indiegogo supporting a follow-up movie to this, but it is a fan film that's actually one of the best fan films I've ever watched, and one of the best Friday the 13th movies that's come out in the past 20 years. Never Hike Alone. The whole movie is on...
I saw you post about it.
The whole movie is on YouTube for free. They posted it on there, but I wanted to have physical copy and have all the extras. It's an hour long, and it's most of the movie is only two people: the hiker and the director, who's the writer-director, playing Jason. And this hiker finds the old Crystal Lake camp, and they have slavishly where each person died in the original Friday the 13th, and little pins put up by the cops like ribbons of where the bodies were found. It's fantastic. It's by Womp Stomp Films, directed by and written by Vincent DeSante, and 100% love it. Watch it on YouTube if you get a chance. I'm gonna do all my movies in a row.
Speaking of that, I recently, because I have Shudder, I recently yesterday went and watched the first 3 Friday the 13th movies. And it was really cool going back to those because I haven't gone back to them in a while. And man, I forgot how enjoyable the third one specifically is.
It's so bad, it's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I watched Freddy versus Jason a couple months ago, and that was a blast because it's just so stupid. What's not to love?
Dumb. You could put it on and just be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
This next movie... I did about a 45-minute review on it about a year ago almost. Small Sundance movie, Summer of '84. If you like Stranger Things, Goonies, and Disturbia, if you've watched that with Shia LaBeouf, or LaBeouf, or however it's pronounced, it is a movie about these kids that a bunch of kids keep going missing in their town. And kid thinks the guy across the street who's a cop is killing them. So it's them trying to find out if he's killing these kids or not. It has a great... You think it's going to end one way, it completely ends the other way. Very well done movie, smartly written. Totally recommend it. It used to be on Shudder. It is off of there now. So if you can find it to watch, I highly recommend it. But definitely goes off those Stranger Things vibes. The kids are actually very likable. And now I'm going into my comfort food during these hard times.
Yes. Okay. I'm living.
So I love good documentaries. I love well done making of documentaries. And Crystal Lake Memories. It is almost 6 hours.
Oh, wow.
Oh, geez.
So it's 2 giant Blu-ray discs. And it does every one of the movies and then goes in depth with director, the special effects people, the actors. Corey Feldman is narrating it.
Oh, that's funny.
He is in it, and find out a lot of interesting things that went on. And then they talk about the budget. Like the second one was only $1 million. And then the third one was 2.5 because of the 3D. And some of these actors were very much tortured in there. The girl in part 4 who was nude on the raft in the water, it turns out got hypothermia because they wouldn't let her out of the water because basically they're like trying to get the shot and the water was freezing. I think she said it was like 20 degrees out when they had her in it.
That's insane.
And following up on that, there is another one, Never Sleep Again. About all of the Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, like Wes Craven. Love him.
So 100% watch this for one reason and one reason only. The making of and them trying to explain part 2. Oh no, I'm not kidding. None of them had any idea of the gay undertones in that movie, or that their main actor was closeted gay. And
wow, I'm like stunned right now.
it's insane. And like, the actor quit after that movie because he thought they purposely outed him.
Which it sounds like they did.
Oh no, they didn't know the writer was gay too. And then the producer wanted to be in the movie, and they were like, okay, you're going to be a bartender at a gay leather daddy bar. So he had to go to some place called the Pleasure Chest and go find a leather outfit to wear, and he didn't think anything weird about it.
What a mess.
The gym coach in it gets whipped in the shower at the in the high school gym, and then gets balls thrown at his face. Again, nobody noticed. And they had one of the directors or producers on it going, like, we really had no idea what was going on, and then we watched it after it came out, and like, uh-oh. Yeah, basically.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And now to my comfort food. And I apologize for this. Evolution with David Duchovny, Sean William Scott, Orlando Jones.
I know about that. I know about that. It's goofy. It's weird and goofy.
I've never seen it before. What is it?
I've seen parts.
It's basically alien life form, like a meteor lands on Earth, and then they find out that like this thing is growing and mutating. And David Duchovny is a scientist at the college. Orlando Jones is the volleyball coach, and Sean William Scott is an aspiring fireman. And they're the first ones on finding out what's going on. Julianne Moore is like a government scientist sent in to kind of study it. David Duchovny doing comedy is so awkward and funny, unintentionally. And Orlando Jones is like the best part of the movie. Again, if I'm feeling sick or just down, I will throw that movie on. It's so stupid, I laugh at it. I can't help myself. Like, it's just a dumb movie like Zoolander. I will put it in. I will end up watching and laughing. And then my treasure, my life, Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
Oh
I know
my
it's
God.
like one of those like 80s classics, but
John Carpenter doing an Asian movie with Kurt Russell. It's going into San Francisco's Chinatown and finding out there's all this sorcery going on. The big thing for that Blu-ray, which I picked up for $7, is there is a commentary by John Carpenter and Kurt Russell where they're either drunk or stoned, but they're getting like real honest during it. And Kurt Russell is basically shitting on his own career, where he's like, man, my biggest earner was, I think he said Captain Ron or Overboard. And he's like, all of my movies are cult classics and don't do shit when they're in the theaters. And then John Carpenter's like, well, I had to do Starman after The Thing because my career was almost over because The Thing bombed so bad in theaters, which is funny now. It's a cult classic, kind of like Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
But it's completely enjoyable. And Big Trouble in Little China is another one where it's so stupid. The genius thing in it, though, but they marketed it wrong, was that Kurt Russell is basically playing an idiot, but they made him they marketed him as the hero, where the real hero was this guy Wang, who he's trying to get his fiance free, but he's the actual like guy who's capable. Where Kurt Russell will like shoot a gun, and then he will have. I know. He will have like stones hit him in the head and knock himself out for like 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh. That's funny.
He's basically the comic relief of the movie, but I 100% recommend watching the movie. It's completely stupid, and I love it. And I have James Hong, who played Lopan in it, tattooed on my leg. So next for you guys, I'm done with my movies.
I watched Hereditary not that long ago, and I don't need to go on a spiel about how much I love that one. I'm gonna watch I was like gonna try not to talk about Twin Peaks or David Lynch, but it's gonna happen. Because tonight I'm going to. Yeah, I'm like it's just gonna happen. I'm going to watch the Twin Peaks movie, like Fire Walk with Me, because since today is like the Twin Peaks 30th anniversary, but I don't feel like restarting the series because I restarted it not that long ago, and I'm on like episode like 6 or something. But the movie is always, really fun to. Well, it's not fun. It's not a fun movie. But I'm going to be watching that tonight just to commemorate, just to chill out. It's really good. I don't know. You shouldn't watch it if you haven't watched Twin Peaks.
I had the soundtrack. I remember seeing it in the theater too. I haven't watched it since.
Mm-hmm.
I will recommend if you really want to torture yourself, watch David Lynch's Dune, which I think is on Amazon Prime.
I've never watched it, but I also don't think I want to.
Do it and then read the books.
Yeah. Wait, do I watch the movie first and then read the books, or do I read the books first and then watch the movie?
You can go either way with it because you might.
I hear it's bad. I hear it's like awful.
You watch the movie and then go and read the source material and be like, "What were they thinking?"
I think that I think we talked a little bit about this last time, like the reading order, because Dune, there's a lot to unpack there, and there's a lot of like unrelated like secondary material to it as well. I think that you should either read the book and then watch the movie, but if you have trouble like piecing together who the characters are and you need like a character reference, I'd recommend watching the movie and then reading the book, because the book has a lot of characters and a lot going on. So if you're like a visual person, then maybe watch it first and then read it. Mm-hmm. But no matter what, if you read any of it or watch any of it, watch Jodorowsky's Dune I think it's on Amazon Prime if you have it. Watch Jodorowsky's Dune, and that's all I can say.
I heard that I did read somewhere that like David Lynch didn't even want to do Dune, but it was like gonna pay him really well. So he pulled what D&D did at like for season 8 of Game of Thrones, where he was like, big paycheck, don't care about it, and then just was like whatever,
and wanted nothing to do with it after it was done. Like I think he took his name off of it when it was done. He didn't want to be associated with it whatsoever.
But there's a cult following for that movie, and I can't figure out why, other than it's David Lynch. Yeah,
that's it. That's literally it, probably.
I think it's either like people who were really into Dune, and that's like their only like movie that they got out of it. So at the time. Or David Lynch people, but I think that if you're going David Lynch, like I think Eraserhead when I think David Lynch, like I think those films. So
I think like Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive.
I love Mulholland Drive. I
love that movie.
It's so good, and I just remember I had a friend who like hated the ending, like hated it. But I really Eraserhead. I mean, watch that movie. But didn't David Lynch do there was another movie that he did that was kind of fucked up, and I cannot remember.
Describe it.
I'm having trouble picturing it in my head. I just remember it was almost an award winner, and I cannot remember. Oh, wait, no. I'm thinking of David Cronenberg. It was that Crash movie.
Another great David, though. Yeah, like
well,
what a weird.
At that time, like it was a weird, fucked up movie, and it was one of those two. It was always one of those two. But yeah, Crash. Ooh, boy, that was stump sex. That was people like. That was a weird movie. Okay, I don't even want to think about that movie anymore. Next.
Yeah, you can go, Jennifer, because I haven't watched anything else, and like I said, I'm only planning on watching Fire Walk with Me. So yeah.
The only other like thing that I can pick out of, there's two things that I've read recently, and one of my favorite movies, and this is like my comfort movie, is Cloud Atlas. I know that it was not.
That one's really good though.
That one, it's one of my favorite movies. I have legitimately watched it 100 times and could watch it 100 more times, and it's just one of those that I love it. The book is David Mitchell is a fantastic book, but I recommend watching the movie and then reading the book. But that was one that I watched. And the other one that I just went back and started to watch again, I tried to go back and watch Legion. I watched most of season 1 and then fell off somewhere, and I'm going to go ahead and try to like smash through it, but I'm watching Legion.
Oh, well, I mean, Dan Stevens.
Yeah.
One of my faves. Also, Aubrey Plaza's in that too, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
she is.
I've only seen the
Beautiful.
first episode, but I really liked it. But because it's on FX, I don't know where to watch it now.
Hulu. It's all on Hulu.
Oh, okay.
I have a weird comfort movie I will throw on because it's so fucking stupid. Halloween Resurrection. I don't know why Busta Rhymes in it makes me laugh, and I
love Busta Rhymes, so I feel you on that.
It's just so stupid. I laugh every time that like he does the kung fu and he does the stupid fucking like.
Is that the one where like Tyra Banks is there?
Yeah,
because it's like they all go in a house and it's like they're filming it for like television.
Yeah.
Ah,
It's so bad. He starts
bad.
doing kung fu and I'm just like, all right, I'm here for this. I don't know why, but like I'm down for it. And then like my movie, it's an all-time favorite movie of mine that I will watch whenever it's on. To Kill a Mockingbird. Gregory Peck is so fucking good in that movie.
Is
I
a
can't
really
remember.
good movie.
I can't remember having watched that one.
Oh, it's so good. It's one of my favorite books.
I have this. Oh, you go.
Oh no, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like I have like the strangest comfort movie, and I like feel bad every time I say it nowadays. But like American Beauty is like
It's
like the
beautiful.
world is crashing and burning, and I need something to like give me hope. And weirdly, that movie does that for me. Like I watch the ending and I cry every single time. It's such a great movie, but like,
I think like
screams.
going back to it, like I think that there, of course, there's the tropes and there's the making fun of it, like, oh, the paper bag in the way. But it is seriously, it's a beautiful movie. It's a
so
truly beautiful movie.
Ricky Fitz, like him describing how he wants to like see the beauty in the world and how it like overwhelms him and it like swells, and how like he wants to live his life like understanding and appreciating everything about like the stupidity of living is just so beautiful. It's so good, and like it has just so much like character drama and it's so much real trauma that it explores that it's just it makes me feel like I always feel a little bit more grateful about life every time I watch it. It just sucks that Kevin Spacey has to suck.
Yeah, I think
boy.
that's another thing, like going back and man, like I hate that he is one of the people that got caught up in like the Me Too movement. He totally deserves to be like trashed to the end of the earth and just yeeted, like
just into the sun.
Culture, just 100%. Even despite his like trying to apologize, which wasn't even an apology. I don't know. I could go into that, but even though, yes, American Beauty is like tragically incredible. And I think that we even talked in one of the last episodes, this like golden era of kind of independent films. Like when I think American Beauty, I also think like Requiem for a Dream and
the
Eternal
90s,
Sunshine of the
late 90s, early 2000 indies.
100%. Like I feel like growing up and like seeing those movies that like forming the adult who I am, like those are the movies that I think of when I think of like just really good independent films. So it's sad that like we look back on it in that way, but there's still a special place in my heart for American Beauty.
Yeah, like movies that shaped me, like you were talking about it, is I think I watched American Beauty, Requiem for a Dream, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Fear, Loathing in Las Vegas, and like American Psycho, like all like during the same period.
Yeah.
Oh, Mary Harmon. Oh, so good.
Not talked about enough being John Malkovich.
Ooh, yeah, that's a weird one.
Oh, it's so weird, but it's so good. I really enjoyed that. A weird movie that I will watch as kind of comfort is Scream.
No, I love that movie. I've seen it so many times. It's such a good movie. It's so good. Wes Craven is just yes.
I love movies that make fun of other movies, especially like Wes Craven kind of makes fun of his own.
like career, yeah. Sydney Prescott's just a badass. Like Matthew Lillard being like, oh, my parents are gonna kill me. You're like,
you hit me on the phone, you dick. My mom,
did you really call my parents?
Matthew Lillard
I actually, my next tattoo that I'm going to get is going to be like a phone, like with blood dripping off of it, and it's going to be like the words like, "Oh, my parents are going to be so mad at me," because I've seen that movie so many times. It's probably my most watched movie. It's probably Scream.
I also what became a weird comfort movie, and I don't know why, but I enjoy the shit out of it every time I watch it. Alita Battle Angel.
I've never seen
underrated.
it. I haven't seen it.
So underrated.
It's so worth watching, Sydney. Sydney, I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
They did a horrible job promoting it. The trailers did it no justice.
Truly.
Didn't it come out at a time where like another big release happened? So it was like, I think people were really divided when they went to theaters because it was like that or something else that was like way bigger than it.
Kind of, and I remember Ghost in the Shell came out like 2 or 3 months ahead of it and was fucking shit.
I thought Ghost in the Shell came out like 2 years before Battle Angel did.
Or maybe a year. I don't remember. Or maybe I got it on Blu-ray or 4K right before it came out. But I just remember like watching it going, boy, Scarlett Johansson's acting is robotic and it's not supposed to be. Yes, she's playing a cyborg.
But not in the correct way.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I heard that movie was bad, but
it's pretty.
Yeah.
But Alita Battle Angel, like, rent it, watch it. It's a great quarantine movie.
Yeah. I really feel like The Lighthouse, I know I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I feel like it's a good quarantine movie because it's how I feel being quarantined in a 400 square foot apartment with my partner right now. Like, it's this weird blend of like getting work done, trying to be productive, and then just getting really fucking drunk and yelling at each other. Like, it's totally describing, I don't know, this weird thing that's happening right now.
Oh my God. I actually just bought The Shining because I really want to reread it. And I also want to rewatch it. I have a very complicated relationship with Stanley Kubrick films. Like, it's like, I hate the man and I understand he makes good movies, but then you read the books and you're like, like internal panicking, especially The Shining.
Watch Room 237 afterward.
Oh yeah, you go.
Well, I was going to say, have you watched Dr. Sleep yet?
No, I have not, but I love Ewan McGregor.
I watched The Shining months ago, and then I recently watched Dr. Sleep, and I feel like they're related, but they're not. But Dr. Sleep was so good, and it was underrated, and I wish that I had seen it in theaters. But, so yeah.
I bought it. I haven't watched it. Everybody says to watch the director's cut on the Blu-ray and not the regular theater version. But the book I loved. It's the best Stephen King book I had read in a long time. Where
I've never read the book, so I don't know how it compares. But
it had a complete ending for once. I was actually pretty happy.
I've actually been. Oh, you go. Sorry.
It didn't feel like a half-assed ending. But that was my last part of that.
Room 237, though, isn't that the like documentary that goes into
all
like,
the imagery and people
the
going
conspiracy theory? Yeah.
Oh wait, no, I have seen it. It's just been a while though.
I just love like if you look at the rug, it's actually Cape Canaveral, the pad layout. I was like, what the fuck are these people talking about?
Yeah, ridiculous. Yeah, well, so it's like I bought The Shining because as everything was happening and like my boyfriend like works at a restaurant. So like, he was, cut off before. Like I have only been in like quarantine or like stayed in from home since Friday was the day that like I started. So my boyfriend's been home for like 2 weeks already or something like that. Going on 3 weeks. And I just felt this very deep urge to like, I was like cabin fever. And I was like, but I want to read about someone else experiencing that so that like when I get stressed out, I could be like, I'm going to read it and I can read about Jack Torrance going crazy instead of like me going crazy.
You said Cabin Fever, and I thought about that movie, and it immediately put me to that scene with the girl shaving her legs and her skin coming off. Like, I fucking cringe. Ooh, that movie fucked me up.
I haven't seen that.
Don't.
No, and then I also kind of want to rewatch the film, but I always have a very complicated relationship because like Kubrick like destroyed Shelley Duvall making that movie, and that's so sad. But also that movie is so good, but it like completely gets the point of the book wrong. Like, what? It's just so confusing. I just feel so confused every time I think about Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Because it is Stanley Kubrick's.
What bothers me is that, you know, with Jack Nicholson, you know he's going to go crazy right from the jump because you don't cast him unless you want someone going crazy. So you kind of take the mystery out of it.
Yeah.
But they showed a behind the scenes thing where he's getting ready for the scene where he's going to go to the axe to the door. And he's sitting there smacking himself in the face going,
oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. And I'm just like, all right, like, what the fuck are the people on set going, Jack's doing it again?
Yeah, no, so like, oh no, you go, sorry.
Oh, no, go.
Oh no, I was gonna say that like that scene like really, really, really broke Shelley because Kubrick just did not believe that she was like giving a good enough performance to like when like, you know, that axe goes through. So I think they like redid, they had to more than like 100 times they like redid that take. And they spent like days on set trying to get Shelley to like break down the right way for Kubrick to like get like the perfect shot. And like, it's so interesting because like Jack Nicholson also went through a lot of like intense, like just rolling at like Kubrick's feet to get what Kubrick wanted out of them. And it's like, it's so weird when you think about the making of that movie because like everyone did not have a fun or sexy time making that movie. Everyone was like, Stephen King hates it. But again, it's like, because Kubrick, it's like Shelley isn't supposed to be this like, just like crying, helpless woman. And like Stephen King wrote that book when like, you know, at the peak of like his alcoholism and stuff like that. So it's like a very like inner demon type of story. And like most of the characters are very fleshed out in the book. So like to get this very like misogynistic, like Shelley is nothing interpretation in his movie was like so sad.
Kubrick also was like petty as fuck where like he purposely changed the color of a car just because he knew it would piss off Stephen King.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like Kubrick's movie Eyes Wide Shut with like Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, like Stanley Kubrick like single-handedly like helped ruin their marriage making that movie because he would like take Nicole Kidman and like would have her like film sex scenes and like Kubrick would like make Tom Cruise like sit sometimes and just like watch it happen, or sometimes he'd just be like, Tom Cruise, go away. 3 days, I'm gonna have your wife alone and we're gonna do all of her like adulterous stuff. Or like he'll have like therapy sessions between the two of them, and then Kubrick will sometimes like tell Tom things that Nicole like told him and stuff like that because he wanted the like infidelity and like the distrust between partners and like the makeup of a marriage to be as realistic as it could be for his movie. And I'm like, dude, Kubrick, what are you on? Like, why are you like this?
Speaking of like Stephen King's alcoholism, Joe Hill told a weird story on Twitter one day about how this guy had just gotten out of jail and showed up at their house. And,
I mean, I feel like that's such a them thing. Like, I'm not surprised.
And he was, you know, he basically started talking to Stephen King about how, you know, his books basically got him through prison. So they sat on the porch having a beer together. Like, just, and like Joe Hill's like, this is a memory I have of my childhood.
Sounds right.
You guys, do you know which house this was? Because he actually, from what I understand, Stephen King had or still has a house in Naples, and I've driven past it like a million times.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I always forget that he had a house in Naples, or like, doesn't he still have it actually?
From what I understand, it's in Port Royal. And I used to be friends with people who used to work at the Barnes & Noble in Naples, and they confirm 100% he's a creepy dude. But
I mean, when you do all that cocaine and drink all that alcohol and write what you write, how can you not?
Yeah.
So Dreamcatcher, have you ever heard some of the stories behind that? Because that's when he was hooked on like Oxycontin, like, and it's like the shit weasel and all that. Like, I guess he was so like, what's the word I'm looking for? He couldn't shit.
Constipated?
He was backed up, and like he came up with that thing with the shit weasel going up the asshole. Like, on the How Did This Get Made podcast, they were doing Dreamcatcher, and they were talking about all the stuff behind the scenes of what was going on with him. Weird stuff. You could probably find a wiki on it. But going back to quarantine isolation movies, John Carpenter's The Thing, the best. Especially, I love the ending on it, where you kind of have to make up your ending, like what really happened, because the way they end it, and it irritates people to no end. And I love that ending of them just sitting there going, well, what do we do now? Well, I guess we just sit here and wait.
I think I'm going to go back and watch that movie now.
I love that ending. I actually, there's a girl I dated, and we got into a fight over that ending because she thought it was stupid.
Like, I actually really like the X-Files homage episode to The Thing, where they're like in Alaska and stuff like that. That's also really fun to watch. That's a series I need to do a rewatch of, because I don't remember a lot of episodes, but I remember loving the series when it was on.
I remember that theme song, like the beginning opening song, just haunting me in my nightmares as a kid.
Yeah.
I also remember being at a rave, them playing that at the end of the night too, like a techno version of it. And really, I sat there, I was like, "What?
The dream."
Yeah. I might have been on something at the time, but that's a whole other story. Wow, that's loud. That's all I've got for right now. You guys got anything else?
That's all I prepared.
It's been another random episode. Of course, as soon as we got off of comics, our viewers just all disappeared.
Well, that's all right.
Oh my God, me whenever I talk about books on Instagram. Where did they go? I don't
know. So where can they find you guys?
You can go if you want.
Okay. So for me, it's pretty easy. I'm pretty much just on Instagram for people to like consume whatever I have to say. Is mostly on Instagram, a little bit with the Comic Lounge, doing some reviews. And I just retweet other people's tweets on Twitter. And apparently I have a Snapchat that I haven't used in a year. But that's just for like my personal, and then my Facebook is just personal, like meme shit posting. So just Instagram, Chin and Comics.
Thirst trap photos.
Thirst trap photos. I'll be the emperor. I'm the emperor of thirst trap selfies.
We love that.
Cidnya?
I am pretty easy. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Twitter at Cidnyareads. Follow me on Instagram if you don't want all of my bullshit. If you want to hear me yell on the internet, you can go to my Twitter. But I'm trying to be better about it, actually.
Are you really? Because
I actually am. Because a bunch of people recently, I realized that I really love to read books and I really love to read comics, but it's like really hard to balance like the whatchamacallit, like the two. And that like if I talk about comics, book people will unfollow me. If I talk about books, like comic people unfollow me. So in order to like mitigate all of that, I decided that I'm going to try really hard not to like shit on creators so much online, because I think that's what gets people the most. So I'm trying to be better on there, but so far I've been really good. All I've been doing is talking about books. You might want to divorce yourself from this channel then. I don't mind doing it on YouTube and stuff like that. It's just that Twitter's like weird about things sometimes. Like I think I said that like Daisy Jones was like Fleetwood Mac fan fiction. I think I lost like 20 followers. And I try not to look at like analytics, but it's always really funny when like you're just going to find, like you're trying to find something to show someone and then you see the number and you're like, what did I say? And like it's an hour ago. It's like Fleetwood Mac fan fiction. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what did it then. I'm there and I'm on YouTube too. And that's it. I'm pretty
And
easy.
you just put out a video on YouTube this week, correct?
Yeah, of like what I'm reading and stuff like that. And I write at But Why Though, and those are all in my Instagram and Twitter like links, so that you can easily find it.
It's funny when you talked about content, because I started out as a horror channel that dabbled in comic books, and then like steadily like the comic book stuff, because every time I did a movie review, I got hit with content claims, so I kept getting more and more pissed off. And then I was just like, fuck it, I'm just doing comics. I can go on for hours about that, where I'll end up doing horror stuff again. I'm still dabbling, but I don't know about doing full movie reviews. You can find me at Chop Comic on Twitter, which all it does is post about my show stuff. I am at Tyrantanic on my personal on Twitter, which it's not very active like it was. It's still blocked by Tom King. Probably remains so. Fuck.
I should have known.
If I die from COVID, I will have Jennifer
Got you, boo.
tweet out my last words.
Because
I
as
hate-
far as I know, I haven't been blocked by Tom King yet. So
A couple of my Batman friends have been. And then on Instagram, my channel one is at comic_chop_news. I have a personal one, but I had to, due to ex-girlfriend and people involved with her that after I blocked her were stealing stuff from mine so that they can insult me, had to shut that down for privacy reasons. Pretty petty.
So it's
but-
exclusive. It's exclusive.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
like if you're in, you're in.
Yeah. If you're in, you're in. So like gang. Yeah.
And Sunday, we're going to be doing Scott Pilgrim Volume 1. It will
Not all 6 of them.
No, just
That's
volume.
No, that's expensive.
Scott's Precious Little Life. And we will be talking about it, dissecting it. I have my San Diego Comic-Con exclusive one here.
Ooh.
The
Ooh,
hardcover.
fun.
It's the Evil Edition.
Very exciting stuff. Scott's so cute.
It's so weird reading the color ones, though, after reading the black and white ones for so long. So I am ready for that. Well, not ready. I need to really reread it. It's been a couple of years, but I will be ready for that. And not sure what this reread will do to me or what I'll find new. Because always, like, I come away with weird, different interpretations every time I read it. Especially the last volume. The last volume was the one that
Always fucks me up, man.
little messy.
Always, yeah.
I still want justice for Lisa Miller. I will always want justice for Lisa Miller.
Edgar Wright, call me about that. Explain. Edgar Wright, please explain.
He is the shortest, nicest little man I've ever met. I met him at the San Diego Comic-Con experience. I got to go to the premiere there, and he's incredibly short. I was not expecting it.
Yeah,
But
he's
very
cool.
nice. And I met Aubrey Plaza and Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Cute.
Oh my god. The both of them were gorgeous. I was just like, hi.
I would be like that too. I'd be like,
I literally was just like, so do you want a picture? Yeah. Sorry. And anything else going on with you guys? You're not doing any more online coloring?
Me? No. So lately I've been doing some face masks. I have been a perpetual craft hoarder for about over a decade now. And so I have a decade's worth of fabric, elastic, ribbon, all the sewing materials that I need to make basic face masks. So I've just been sewing up a couple face masks for people.
cool.
So Cinia, every open invite for you anytime you want to come on that you feel it. But we've been doing these Wednesday random shows, so pretty much we're actually sticking to a schedule, which is odd for me.
It's nice.
I'm terrible at doing it normally. But also, thank you to everybody who has been watching our shows. We're now up to 4 shows that cracked 1,000 minutes watched, which, considering my highest before that was 400, is pretty impressive. And eventually, we're going to do our book club episode for Irredeemable. I still have not gotten a date or time from Gambit, but I'm not going to push it right now because he is having a rough time with everything. So we'll get there. We'll get there. It'll happen. But if you could find it and read it, Cidnya, just so you can be possibly prepared to come on. Because
maybe. I have so many things I just bought, so we'll see. I bought so many books. I bought so many comics. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I was told I need to start talking about more recent books. I got some criticism from the last episode from older ex-girlfriend of mine, so I'm going to make a effort to read newer books that are topical and not from 2012 or 2015. And I imagine I'm going to get a text later tonight if she watches this saying, "Why'd you call me out?" That's what I do. So thanks everybody for watching, joining us, and contributing, and sorry if the rabbit holes made you stop watching, but that is never, ever going to end. That is our brand.
That is the brand.
Yeah.
Is
we're messy and we don't care.
A derailing train that goes into a rabbit hole.
And I will never stop doing it. Ever. Ever! And yeah, that's it. We're going to end the show. So, so long, farewell, Avita's a goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.